Hey, welcome all. This is Justin Lefby. I'm the professor of real estate. Next to me is Jayson Bates. Here we are talking tech with realtors. Today, specifically, what we're going to do is talk tech about how that's affecting real estate, right? I listen to a lot of realtors, a lot of experienced realtors, a lot of successful realtors that say, I won't use tech, blah, 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 and I won't do that stuff. And I just kind of find it funny and humorous because everyone does something, whether it's your phone or something. We're doing tech in one way or another these days. So I just thought Jason's one that brought it up, and I agreed. I thought it'd be a great idea to just kind of sit there and say how, let's grab a perspective. How is this affecting us, and how do we got to prepare ourselves for the future? Again, my name is Justin Lefby, eProfessor. You can find me at eProfessor of Real Estate, where I do online trainings, coaching sessions, things like that from a technology-based perspective. Jayson, introduce yourself.
Yeah, hello, everyone. I'm Jayson Bates, the host of a podcast called Valley of the Sun Real Estate Show, right here in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. Got to rub that in right now. It's February. It's cold in most of the country, but here in Arizona, it's summertime. So love it here. And I'm here in Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm a mortgage lender. So if you want to reach out to me, by all means, please do so by visiting my website at www.valleyofthesunrealestateshow.com.
Awesome. If you guys have questions about tech or anything in there during the session, please ask them. We will always answer them. I'm going to try to get a couple people on here. I'm seeing if we can talk Michael into coming in, share his perspective from across the pond. But if you guys have questions, ask them, or if you guys want to come in and just talk real quick and ask your own questions, that's fine too. We like more interaction than anything else. So might as well just hit it. You mentioned the topic right off the bat. Why don't you reference it? You were talking about Zillow in an article they wrote not too long ago.
Well, and this whole idea of this topic coming up in my mind was because I think that we're in a little bit of a shift in real estate right now. We're going through a little bit of a transition, in my opinion, not only on the real estate side, the housing and the realtors, but also on the mortgage lending side. Ever since our financial crisis, we've kind of stabilized the markets a little bit as far as mortgage lending goes, kind of set a foundation down. But since then, there's been a lot of competition in trying to have that competitive edge. And what's that new shiny object and that new mousetrap out there? We just saw on the Super Bowl 1 week ago, the Rocket Mortgage, right? They spent a lot of money on that, trying to reinvent how people obtain a mortgage. And there's been a lot of backlash with that, to be honest with you. I saw a lot of the tweets that were out there. They were kind of humorous, to be quite honest with you. And I want to this whole discussion. I brought up Zillow pre-show here. Zillow has made mention recently that they don't want to get rid of the realtor. The point of technology and real estate in the future that they see is just making it a little bit easier of a transaction. We've heard for years now how difficult it is and how frustrating it can be during the process. And so technology is there to help, I think, maybe complement that and make it a little bit easier, not eliminate things. I think that's been a big fear, right? That we're going to filters or eliminate jobs, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I watch this, and I watch this on an everyday perspective, being a realtor myself, as well as more of a tech trainer these days, is you watch these consumers and these realtors, they want to hold on to being the key holder. I just always laugh at it. We're not the key holder anymore. We are the service provider. We are the solutions manager. We are the consultant, right? That is our roles as real estate agents these days. And to hold on with a death grip to being the key holder is going to kill us, because technology is changing that for us. We have such a problem with understanding that, technology today quite literally can set up an appointment, show the home, view the home without us being in place, right? The technology is there. Now, the confidence may not be there, the privacy, the security, that stuff still may be something that we're lacking, but the technology is there. We can do this on our own. But where I think you see realtors are in need still is from the perspective of that hand-holding, that confidence building, that make sure that we are making the right decision, right?
Yeah.
And that's where it becomes interesting, because if we can do it, Cindy has said it before, that it's a game changer. I think it really is. You got young agents coming in so comfortable with everything they do. Everything is attached to their hand. They're knocking out of the park right now because it's so easy for them, and they're making it easy for their clients.
Yeah, and there's also another shift, and I want to get your perspective on this from a realtor's perspective about your online presence. How important is that now, and how important will that be in the future?
Here's the thing that's interesting. Real estate's local, right?
Yeah. Well, right? I mean, it can be. It seems like it's starting to build out a little bit more. Here,
and you're seeing this. You're seeing successful teams grow to other regions and other locations because it is becoming more of a non-local thing. But real estate is still local, right? If I'm going to be experienced and I am going to do various things, I am still doing it locally. It does not mean I can't have a global solution or an international or a broader solution, right? If I market to people, I'm hitting multiple eyes at all times. I have to have these solutions in place. But if I'm going to use X, Y, or Z agent, I want somebody that can sit there and say, okay, what's going on in this subdivision in Scottsdale? Well, I don't know, right? I wouldn't know. I wouldn't have any idea be able to tell you that. Now,
but you could find the information fairly easily. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
By
absolutely.
Going online
absolutely.
Or visiting a blog or Facebook or, other resources.
No, you could do that. And there's tools. Realtor.com has 2 tools out there, Find and RPR, which are national products, right? So if I'm a realtor, I can look out there and I can get a pretty good feel for that. Now, I'm still not going to know what's going on. Your backyard, you're going to know what's going on. I'm not. But I can as an agent form solutions, right? I can form another team out that way, have that experience, and let me leverage my global branding.
Yeah.
So long answer short is yes, I think your branding matters. But I still don't think – I think it's a bad idea and it's a bad play. If it happens naturally, great. But it's a bad play to try to brand yourself as a global agent if you have not been in real estate long enough to brand that purpose.
But don't you think we got to change our minds a little bit when it comes to the way we think about real estate? Like before, you thought about, well, I gotta put it in the newspaper. I got to put it in the neighborhood, flyer. I've got to do this. You kind of centralized your marketing efforts in and around the area that you wanted to represent. Now, I think that we got to open our minds up a little bit more. And this is the future that I see, that we've talked about video, we've talked about all kinds of different things that are out there on the World Wide Web, WWW. And so you got to think more of a bigger scale. For example, last year on the podcast that I do, I had 3 people call me from out of state that reached out to me through the podcast. Now, I wouldn't have otherwise have been able to been in contact with them or them been able to reach out to me if it were not for that podcast.
Right, but here's where I'm pointing out the difference, and I think you're right. You got to understand that you are reaching a bigger market than what maybe you even intended.
Right.
But you're not marketing, right? You're not marketing U.S. Your podcast isn't Valley of the U.S. right? Your podcast is the Valley of the Sun.
Yep.
Because you're focusing strictly on your area and your market and your stuff, but you have reached and successfully grown to other things just because of natural occurrences and natural things. That's going to happen. And I'm okay with that. One thing I've always worried about, and there's been a lot of Inman articles right now that I just completely disagree with about niching. And I think you should niche your business in a certain way, but understand that because of that niche, your business will grow organically outside that arena. So yes, I mean, I completely agree with you. But what I always worry about is when we talk about global growth or huge growth, that when a realtor comes out there, they want everything. Well, you can't do everything. And if you market to be everything, no one wants you because you know nothing. Right. Jack of all trades, expert of none.
Well, and I agree. I agree with you there. And the point I was trying to make is when we put out these marketing materials on Facebook or on the internet, whether it be through video or whatever, you got to think of somebody not just in the area, but also outside of the area who may be interested in the property. And that's a little bit different perspective. We talked about selling a lifestyle, right? Well, the people who live in the community kind of understand the lifestyle. But when you're selling a lifestyle, you've got to think outside of the community and the lifestyle, that other people may be interested in. The Southwest lifestyle is much different than the Midwest lifestyle. So much different, right? I mean, I'm in shorts.
You're in shorts right now. I'm in 3 layers.
So selling that lifestyle, when you put it on the World Wide Web, is that's part of your sales strategy, or it should be. And I don't think we do a good enough job in some cases of selling that lifestyle. You know, when you look at luxury real estate, for example, that's all they sell is that lifestyle. Lifestyles of the rich and famous, or, you know, whatever. And for the cheapest home, selling a lifestyle for the neighborhood, the amenities, the schools, everything that's important outside of the home. I think when you do internet marketing is a key component to that. So that's why I think the online presence, you know, thinking more about the bigger picture rather than the local aspect of it.
No, absolutely. No, you got to keep in mind your brand. You got to keep in mind other things. I think it's going to be interesting how NAR and state governments or state regulations will change some of this, because again, right now I market to what I know in Illinois, but I know in like Phoenix, Arizona, things like that, or I should say Arizona, other states, there are other laws that come into play, right? How I have to disclose information. In Illinois, I don't have to disclose my license number, but in Arizona, I'm pretty sure an agent has to.
Yeah, you do.
Right. So it's going to be interesting to see that and see what happens from inside there.
What kind of role do you think in the future that apps will play? You know, there's an app for everything, right? How important is it in the future to understand these apps, utilize these apps? You know, we always talk about millennials and things like, and I saw some report on millennials. There's a lot of millennials that are having a difficult time, you know, trying to get the money to save, to put down to buy a house. Easy for me to say there. I was stuttering all over the place.
It's about that easy for them to do it too.
Right. But anyway, it's difficult to save money for the down payment. So that being said, everybody's trying to trace the millennials, and the millennials are the tech, and they're the ones who are going to drive kind of, we're going to need to follow where they're going, Snapchats, all this other kind of stuff. How important is it to be on all these apps? Or how important is it to be even familiar with these apps? Or should you?
I think it's very important to be familiar with the apps. I think you need to know what's going on for those apps. You got to know how Snapchat's playing and how that's coming out. And it's really starting to really take off here quickly in recent months. You know, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Instagram is huge right now. I mean, it's disgusting what kind of business you can pull from Instagram. I just did a search. Gary Vaynerchuk, I'm not sure if people know him, but he's a good social media guy and a huge author for stuff. He wrote a couple of years ago, 13 tweets realtors should have answered, right? And he just did some basic searching, house hunting, apartment searching, and had people that he followed that just were talking about this stuff that no one was getting any help on. I did those same searches in Instagram right now. It's blowing up.
Wow.
Right. So you got to be aware of this stuff, and you got to be able to do it. Now, I am not saying, because this is where everybody runs into problems. I've been doing real estate since 2006, before really most of this stuff had any real legs on it. So I could do Facebook, I could do Twitter, and when Instagram, I could jump onto that because I already had the other ones in place. I can do these one at a time. As an agent these days, if you try to throw them all into this stuff, they're going, they're stumbling all over themselves.
Yeah, even Twitter, right? I mean, Twitter, I'm amazed at how many agents that don't use Twitter. They just went on to Twitter just to say, hey, they went on. They've been on since 2009, 2010. They've got 2 tweets their entire Twitter life, and they don't know how to use it or, leverage it or be a part of the community, anything. And I think Twitter, I quite frankly like Twitter better than I do Facebook, quite honestly.
Well, what they're saying right now is Twitter is great for natural communications, natural conversations right now, where Facebook isn't doing that. It's all about marketing and talking out loud, where Twitter is actually now kind of reverse roles, and people are actually having actual conversations with people at this point. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm seeing it. When I talk to people, I'm talking more on Twitter than I am anywhere else. Me and Michael Reed, we were talking back and forth before he actually probably ran out of juice on his internet. That, what was going on here. It's like, okay, that's great. And now I had a conversation. I can move on to the next person.
Yeah, it is. I think it's, and plus you can kind of express yourself there and how do I say this? You can express yourself in a kind of a funny, humorous way, but yet get a good point across. Which I guess you can do that on Facebook as well, but it seems as though that audience is a little more, it's smaller, I guess, for lack of a better. With Twitter, if it's something kind of funny and trendy or whatever, with certain hashtags, it can really explode and get a message out there fairly quickly.
Facebook
longer.
No, I agree. I think Twitter is definitely huge. And again, you're right. You see most agents, because someone said have Twitter accounts, so they go and have a Twitter account, and they haven't typed in it since 2010. And then if they do that, they're using it as a broadcast channel, which again is not a problem, but you're not using it the way people are using it, and you got to understand how people are using these things. And if you just go out there because Justin Letheby said go use Twitter, well, great, but you're going to sit there and go, produce me no results. I've gotten leads from Twitter. I've gotten leads from Facebook. I've gotten leads from almost any tool that's out there because I've actually gone at one point in time and spent effort in that arena saying, by the way, let's have conversations.
Right.
And I do think that's how tech is affecting things. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right. It totally is affecting things. We're learning right now how to even communicate on Twitter. Right. Before it was, hey, I'm going to post this listing that I have, and hopefully somebody will maybe look at it and call me to purchase this listing. And I think a lot of agents still do that, where rather on Twitter, they should be communicating like where they had lunch and say, hey, if you want a great lunch on a Sunday afternoon, this is the place to be. And then put that restaurant or whatever it is that you're doing. That's the way to communicate in Twitter, because then people will like that, maybe reshare that and get some brand awareness through that type of communication rather than making it all about you. And Twitter's not all about you. It's about sharing experiences or sharing other aspects of your life, I guess. And I guess that's what Instagram is and everything else too.
That's what all social media is about, right? Where internet marketers have understood social media better than anybody else and have knocked it out of the park is they will give information willingly, right? Yeah. And that's not saying, here's my home for sale, come take a look, because that's about me and that's about my transaction. Mm-hmm. It is, hey, by the way, I've got 5 great ideas for you for when you're searching for homes. Or, hey, how about this for doing X? How about this? Or better yet, what can you tell me? What's your struggles today when trying to find a home? How can I help you do better? Right.
Right.
And that's where people are really struggling with this today, because when they're doing this and you're trying to find out how to make this work, people just want to me, and you can't do that. It's got to be you first and then me. Right. And if you give enough to them, they will come back and reciprocate. And then I think again is going back to the title of this. You do that enough, it's a global reach. Anybody can read any of my Twitters out there, and I'm going to get feedback back. And the nice thing about real estate, as well as mortgage, is I can refer that business out if I can't do business in that particular location.
Hey, I want to get your take too on this Rocket Mortgage deal. So, I have my own take on it, obviously, because I'm in the mortgage industry. But I want to get your take on it because they spent a lot of money, obviously, on that Super Bowl commercial. It's getting a lot of backlash on it. Some bad publicity. Sometimes that's good. I don't know how that, good, bad.
All publicity, right?
All publicity is publicity. But I want to get your take on it because the commercial kind of showed the chaos that happened or ensued from 2008 or whatever. And by the sheer fact of doing an 8-second mortgage or pre-qualification with that short a period of time, are we going down that same path that many are arguing? What's your take on that?
I think it's too soon. I think that scab is still very, very raw. Yeah. And you're dealing with millennials, right? Millennials aren't sure yet that they want to buy. Some are being forced to buy because, again, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but in Inman and you see other articles, part of the problem that happened in 2003 was affordability index change, right? We were buying more homes than we can afford. Well, the same thing's happening with renting right now. We have crossed that threshold. People are renting higher than they can afford.
Right.
So one of the things that you're running into with this is that many millennials still don't necessarily see the value in it. They see, why do I got to spend this much money? I'll just buy a home, right?
Right.
But they're still not dumb enough to sit, and I shouldn't say dumb enough because who knows what the Rocket Mortgage really is, but they're still not brave enough or confident enough to sit there and say, ooh, one button, this is awesome, right? Yeah. Maybe when I was at their age, I might have said, cool, let's see what happens.
There's a segment of technology here, Justin, that I think, we still got to have humans involved. There's some humanity. I don't know if humanity is the right word, but there's a human element that's still involved with lending on a transaction. there's an emotion kind of attached to that. Not only when you're purchasing a house, but everything. But if you hit one button, are you taking that emotion out of the whole transaction? And how important or is it not important to have that emotion as part of the transaction? Because the reason I bring this up is because 8-second mortgage, although there may be a place for it, I don't think it's for everybody. Certainly there are situations where it's just common sense. It's like, it's a no-brainer. It's a slam dunk, whatever other kind of, superlative you want to put to it. There's situations where an 8-second mortgage probably would make sense. But then there are other situations where it's just not going to make sense. And maybe they try to push it to those situations where it may not make sense. And even for the people who get the 8-second mortgage, is there some satisfaction in just having that 8-second mortgage, or is there an emotional tie that should be tied to it? I mean, should we be scared to get a mortgage? Should we have that feeling of apprehension to make the biggest investment of our life, or should it be just taken out and the scare factor taken away?
I think anytime you're putting basically your life in the line of a mortgage, there should be some certain amount of butterflies in the stomach.
I think so too, right? And that's where technology can maybe eliminate that whole feeling. And if it does, is that good or is it bad? I mean, we don't know, obviously, because we don't know what we don't know. But I think that people should be afraid a little bit or a little scared of getting into a mortgage. It brings it home a little bit more, I think.
Yeah,
how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Good. You're good friends with Mike, right?
I am. And it just so happened I saw you guys were on. I thought, look, I'd come and join you. So how
that's very good.
You can stop Michael because he didn't have poor internet speeds. You can show him what internet speed looks like and how it works. And
yeah, poor Michael. I was saying I can never join you guys on a Friday, and here I am joining you on a Friday, and he's not even here, which is sad.
Yeah. Well, that's good. We're glad to have you, man. Thanks for being a part of it. What are your thoughts on now? You probably don't have this in England. You're in, I don't know, England, right? UK.
Yeah. About an hour south of London.
Okay, so here, Super Bowl, they ran an ad of a mortgage company. It's been out for a while now, but they approve under certain qualifications, of course. They approve a mortgage in 8 seconds, and the whole thought is that it takes a rocket to exit Earth's atmosphere in 8 seconds or less, and so they're approving a mortgage in that amount of time. Therefore, they call it the rocket mortgage, and they're one of the biggest lenders here in the United States. So is that good strategy, bad strategy? Is technology taking it too far? There's a lot of tweets out there, right, that are pretty funny, actually. If you tweet or search rocket mortgage, there's quite a few tweets out there that are pretty funny about this subject.
You know what? It's a difficult question, right? I mean, I'm all for using technology to decrease the sort of the friction between intention and action, right? That's what technology is all about, arguably. But equally, there's got to be an element of risk, and there's got to be an element of sort of people acting in a rational manner. Now, is that rational to get a mortgage approved in 8 minutes, 8 seconds, whatever it is? Personally, I think it's reckless. But I see why they're doing it. It's a massive publicity stunt. It might be a bit of a lost leader, but is that the right message to be sending people? Biggest decision. Not sure.
I know that. But having said that, and I'm getting some feedback here. I don't know who that is. But having said that, there are things that we felt the same way about in the past that now are no big deal. Right? We felt that, I don't know. I'm trying to think of examples. If anybody got some examples that we, as humans thought, hey, this was a bad idea. And then it ends up, we're like accepting it as the norm right now. I was always a little apprehensive about YouTube, right? I'm not going to put my videos out there for everybody to see kind of thing. But now it's like, who cares? So are we going down that path where maybe we just don't know what we don't know? And maybe it is a good idea. Fannie, here in the United States, they're coming out actually with some technology that will, if employers report in their payroll systems to a certain database, that Fannie Mae will be able to pull that information from the employer's database. Therefore, the consumer will not have to supply pay stubs, W-2s, tax returns to get qualified, which will streamline that process even more.
Yeah, I get that, and I think that's a great idea, right? I mean, that's it's making the sort of the paperwork aspect of any mortgage application far easier, and the onus is not necessarily on the applicant disclosing every detail because it's already there. It's like the whole Internet of Things is going to take off with a quantified self when you're popping pills, which will tell doctors without even you being there what your blood pressure is. That sort of thing, right? And for me, that's brilliant because actually there's no lying. It's totally transparent. There is a question of privacy there, which I think some people will probably take umbrage with. You know, will they want to share all of that information with people if they're not even thinking about doing it? You know, there's an argument there. But no, I don't know. It's a difficult thing. Certainly from the UK perspective, we are getting tougher and tougher and tougher on mortgage viability. It's ridiculous. I mean, the lengths we have to go to at the moment to get mortgages approved. I mean, we are stamping down considerably on mortgage lending. So we are getting tougher. And it sounds as if the Rocket Mortgage, what you're just saying there, and you'll excuse me for not knowing an awful lot about it, it sounds as if it's...
most don't.
Yeah. You know, it's a difficult one. I think it's a tough...
Yeah, no, there's still some constraints even here in the United States when it comes to mortgages. There's still some, things that we're trying to figure out, defining some risk factors and what determines risk and the interpretation of that risk and what it means for the future integrity of things. And so when this got launched, it's so far out there. That's why it's creating this backlash because it's just an idea that's way out there. Now, the other thing too, and not to get off the mortgage thing, but even on the real estate side, we've talked about Open Door. Open Door is a concept here. It's a company out of San Francisco. And what they do is they buy a house, then they put a lockbox on it that you can punch a code into. You text a number, the address to a certain number. It sends you the code. You can then go through the home, walk through the home anytime, 24/7, without the need for a realtor. And they buy the house, they empty the house out, right? So it's not staged, it's not anything, it's a shell of a house. They put one of those lock boxes that has the code thing or whatever. Then they have security cameras within the home that watch you walking through the home.
Right.
So you don't have squatters or some hobos or something like that, camping out in a house. So is that the future of real estate, where you have this open door where you can walk through a home 24/7? It's been very successful here in Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix is right now the kind of the at the forefront of that technology, or I won't say technology, but of that concept. Dallas, Texas is the next one that they're moving into. Not all markets will fit this program, is what they're saying right now currently. But Phoenix is it's exploding. And you can look at it at opendoor.com. If you go to their website, and they do a fantastic job with their video or their pictures and all that kind of stuff. It's really kind of a cool concept. So is that the future of real estate?
Are these empty homes now? Have they got people living in them? So it's a resale market, or is it a new home market?
It's resale. So what they do is you can go online and you put in that you want to sell your home. They will do an online evaluation of your home, give you a bid on your home. And if you accept that bid, they'll buy your house within 3 days or whenever you choose. And then you move out, and then they either repaint the house, get it ready. These aren't dumps. These are nice houses. And then they set up their, cameras or whatever, and set up the lockbox, and then put it on the market. What they're trying to do is create something that's predictable. Right now, with mortgage lending and the way real estate is, and double transactions moving from one house to another, it gets a little bit unpredictable. You can't buy a house until you sell your house because you can't afford both mortgages, kind of thing. This kind of eliminates that whole thing. Because they say, hey, when do you want to close? You want to close next week? Okay, we'll close next week. And this isn't some kind of scheme. The brilliance of this is it's not some kind of scheme where they undervalue your house by 20% just so they can turn around and sell it for a profit. They actually give you fair market value of the house. Their margins are very, very tight. And what they're doing is they're working in numbers. So if they only make, 1%, 2% per transaction, they just got to close more transactions.
Is that with you as well, Justin, as well, your sort of area?
Yeah, that isn't up by us. And I think most of the reason why that's going to work well for people like Jayson in their states is they're warm states. I'm in a very cold state right now. You're going to have temperatures that will be probably like minus 20 tomorrow in weather. So you're dealing with a management issue at that point in time as well. So their costs are going to be so much higher when you get above, certain north points where it just becomes unrealistic to have those vacant homes sit for 2-3 months, because now you're dealing with pipe issues, you're dealing with maintenance, you're dealing with shoveling issues, all that kind of nastiness that just exists around. Not that they can't make it happen, but if you're going to start this, you're going to have to start this where you have low maintenance and low concerns about properties.
Fascinating concept. I like it. As long as there's again, in the UK, there's been a few companies that are buying properties outright. Generally, when the crash was happening, people would come in and just say, look, we'll buy your home in cash. You don't have to worry about it. Here, take it. Here are your keys. We'll buy it. Right. But they were below market value, right? And they were then selling it on to the investors, and they were making, a decent margin even in a low market. But if it's fair market value, what I particularly like about it is the ability to view without the realtor. And it fits. Obviously, you guys and where we are in the UK and into Europe, we have a totally different model. You have the realtors who are associated with a sort of a big brokerage company. We have a not quite as similar model. And there's a big movement at the moment in the online estate agency world, which is everything is becoming online, and the traditional, what we call the high street estate agents, are disappearing. And there's a big disruption going on at the moment in terms of how to promote the selling of a house. Yeah. That could well be a very interesting angle for some of the online agents out there at the moment who don't have the facilities of the street selling option. So I'm not take away the purchase of a house side for a minute and just focus on the viewing without an agent being present. That could be a very interesting approach if the legalities of it work over here. So
you're gonna. I can't speak for you guys, but that is going to happen. And the next natural step in Open Store is definitely helping us from a tech perspective prove this. Is showing a home is not necessary. We are not, as agents, that is not our biggest value for our clients, is opening a door. That's not where our value comes from. Our value comes from consulting and knowledge and stuff like that. So if you have online agents that can be ahead of that game and have security, safety, other solutions in place so people don't get stuff robbed, because right now what Open Door is doing, vacant homes, you don't got to worry about that side of it. But if they can put security angles inside that, this changes where real estate comes into play, and it could change commission, right? If you're doing that perceived value is a little differently. And maybe it's not a commission, more of a bulk rate, so to speak.
Yeah. So take the online agents over here. They are really annoying, the high street guys, because our commission rates are nowhere near you guys at all. We only get it from one side. So the vendor is the guy that's paying the commission. They may pay between 1% and 3%. There's never any more than that. What the online agents are doing at the moment is their fees are generally under $1,000 as a flat fee to sell the houses. So what it's doing is it's killing the top end of the market. And it's making people believe that they can do it themselves. They don't need an agent to, as you just said there, Justin, show the home around, right? It's not needed as much. But I think stuff like this, that could really impact.
Open Door. I think Open Door is brilliant as well. I think it's a fantastic idea. I think it really taps into a need and niche. Again, it's not for everybody, and they even claim I'm going to actually do a podcast with them. Hopefully, I was hoping to do it this week, but next week I think I'm going to do it. Just they've been very, very busy this month already. I think they told me they had closed 23 transactions as of the 11th of February. So the idea is really catching on. And they've even said, hey, look, we want to price the home correctly. If we didn't price it correctly, then we did a disservice. And that our model is not to undercut the market. It's to have a fair market, but with predictable results. That's what their goal is. And I think that is fantastic. And they've got a lot of funding to back it up. So we'll see where it goes. They've even admitted it's not for everybody, but they are building a little bit better mousetrap. And we've talked about that a lot, right? And this is one step. There's going to be another step, maybe 5 years, 2 years down the road, where the company takes that concept and takes it one step further, And so what does that mean for us as agents? Or, I'm not an agent, but, us as professionals in this world. And, it's a fast-paced, fast-moving world that real estate is in right now. And that's why I say we're in this transition right now, and people really got to keep up.
Now, remember, millennials are cynical.
Yeah.
They love their tech, but they're cynical.
Yeah.
Right. So they probably like this idea. But I mean, I'm just picturing this thing as a whole. Could you imagine Rocket Mortgage tied to buying a home where you could have something bought within a day?
Crazy, right? I mean, it blows your mind when you think about it.
And then you have another bust. That's exactly what's going in my head.
Yeah, and that's what the tweets are all saying, right? And I should read some of these here. Just bought 17 houses in 20 seconds using Rocket Mortgage. This app is great. That was
I mean, because again, if they're not, I mean, how do you verify? The problem is really, right? What happened during 2003 to 2007 in the States, or 2003 to about 2015? But when all the mortgages were given out, you could do stated income. Hey, yeah, I'm roughly making X amount of. Now I know I'm exaggerating, Jason, so don't beat me too hard. But I mean, that's basically what was happening.
Right.
I could say, I feel like I made $10 last night, or I made $100 the night before. So, put me 110, I'm pretty good. Okay, great. Have a loan. Now, again, I'm extremely exaggerating.
Right.
But what's the difference now when you do a 10-second loan?
Right.
Yeah. Right. You do a 10-second loan. How are you proving anything?
Well, is it agreed in principle? I mean, I assume there must be some sort of legislative side of this, which is saying it's on the basis that what you say is true, blah, 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 blah. There must be.
I completely agree. I am playing completely devil's advocate on this situation because that's what I'm telling you is going through a millennial's mind right now.
With that being said, though, James, and I'm sorry to interrupt there, if the employers and the payroll and everything else, banking systems, if there was one place that you could go as a mortgage lender to pull all this information in the split second, then it's not unconceivable to even, not have those kind of hurdles to cross, right? Because they're already there, like you said, it's already out there. So I don't know. I mean,
let me just ask a question on this, because I think this is quite an interesting bit, which is, I agree what you've just said there, Jason, absolutely 100%, because what you're looking at is you're guaranteeing someone's income, right? And if we're getting it at source, it's very easy to verify that bit. But I mean, right. Here in the UK, when we're getting mortgage applications approved, a lot of it comes down to the property that you're also buying as well. Yes. So they've got to agree, the banks have to agree that it's a viable value. So there's that side. Now, that definitely can't get done in 10 seconds. You can't just say,
no.
Well, actually, arguably, if we bring in the blockchain and all this sort of stuff, and don't get me started on that bit, where you're saying, well, this is the product, and therefore they've got a public ledger of all transactions on that particular property, then it does become viable. Right. At the minute, it's I can't see how they can substantiate the value of a house in that quicker time.
Is there any future in the average of a home? So like Zillow, right? We all know Zillow values are off, right? But if we split that in the middle and we say, hey, we understand they're off, but we're willing to lend on the Zillow value of something just at this type of loan to value. So there's got to be minimal investment from the consumer. Could we take that aspect? Could we say, okay, online evaluations of property values, we'll take them, but at a reduced, Justin, you're muted, buddy, at a reduced value? Is there room for that?
I tell you what, Zillow has been making leaps and bounds since it first came out with its estimate, and they are getting better, but they are still horribly just off because they don't take anything into account, right? They just take the value. They don't know, for instance, if the home is dated with, with shag carpeting, green shag carpeting, or if it's decked out with marble, right? Until you can find a way to improve that estimate, I think it's fine. But if you want to talk about totally screwing up market value and that's how you go by it, you're going to, I mean.
What about this, Justin? And I'm just throwing this out there, right? What if that was all that we knew? What if we didn't have appraisals? That was all that we knew. I mean, we're kind of fortunate because we can really, identify each individual property and really get to the nitty gritty of the values. But if we didn't know any better, that would be the standard, right? So could we go regress maybe a little bit and go to something like that? Or is there
you could.
Or is there going to be an appraisal company out there that's going to be able to do something like Open Door and figure out a way to somewhat accurately predict or estimate a value of a home? Is that in technology? Or is that we taking the human element out?
Well, if any appraisers are watching, you just heard them shudder.
It will be a matter of time before an appraisal company becomes online and they figure that out, right?
Right. No, my only thing that I worry about with that, again, for me, from a real estate perspective, this is all possible, right? Anything from this stuff can be done from tech because you can figure out the numbers. But again, there's still going to be a human touch. And really, everything I've always been taught, there's one factor when identifying what the value of a home is worth: what the buyer's willing to pay.
Yeah.
That's right.
True.
And if someone came out with $1 million cash and they wanted to buy a 1-room hut and they wanted to spend $1 million, if it was cash, it wouldn't matter. That's what they paid for it.
Right.
Right. It's the mortgage rules and appraisals and all these other things that play into that effect where this comes into play. But I do think it's interesting because right now, if you would do this, I mean, look at Zillow at some point in time and watch from month to month where that's at. I mean, it's a heart attack line. I mean, you can't tell all the time. You can see trends, but it's interesting. If you do have it and they figure out the right juice and the right algorithm, you got a company that's going to knock it out of the park, right? All day long. But again, it's what back to Cindy said early, and that's where people run into these problems. It's got to be based on trust. And if they don't trust that system, it has no value and no merit.
So let's change gears here just a little bit. So let's talk about some of the technology in marketing the properties and things like that. We've talked about Matterport. Now Matterport is just something that's internal right now. And I've read some articles that they're experimenting with getting the outside of a home. Do you ever see, in Matterport, for those of you who don't know, is this 3D rendition. I can't say it.
It's good though. Try it again.
Rendition of your property. That's funny, man. I love it when James gives me a hard time. That's good. But it's a 3D rendition where you can actually walk through a property without actually physically having to be at the property. And they're talking about getting that on the outside of properties where you can actually walk up to the window of a property and look out and see your view. You have a view, of the mountains or, whatever it may be, the ocean or whatnot. So where do you feel that this technology is going, and how will that play a role in real estate in the future?
Oh, I think this is a massive topic. I love this topic.
Yeah,
okay. One, right? For me, there's two areas of this. There's the resale market and there's a house building market, right? And they're two very different sectors. My big issue, my challenge for Matterport, and I'm hoping to have a chat with Rebecca, who I think runs their marketing side. For me, their big challenge is their cost. When you think everything at the moment in the agency world is getting squeezed, right? All budgets are getting squeezed left, right, and center. The cost of a Matterport camera is extortionately expensive. Yeah. So even from a business perspective, to roll it out to all the agencies around the UK, the US, Europe, the price point is just too high for common garden generalistic properties. I can't see the scalability. One of my very close business colleagues sells very, very high-end properties, and he's just worked with a company in the UK who's got a Matterport camera and has done his own house. Looks stunning, right? It looks great with a Matterport camera. Mm-hmm. But it's such a niche product. Because of its price point, there's going to be an issue there. Now, there are other more cost-effective solutions that you can use out there, which are not as good as a proper scan. I think there's going to be an awful lot of move towards 360-degree photos and videos, which ostensibly And arguably, they probably do there or thereabouts the same thing. Because for me, the future of all of this is going into the virtual world and virtual reality. When, as Matterport have done, they're actually using their scans in the VR world as well. We can start to see the internals of these properties inside. I think if they can get the price right, they'll get the market.
Well, what about this? What about this? Because there's a gentleman here in Phoenix who you hire him. I think it's like $200 or something like that, which is not too bad. And he'll do a Matterport of the entire house for $200. He's got all the equipment, and he'll go out and do the whole shebang for you. So that's not too bad. Price point, I think, will come down. I think that will become more of a non-issue as far as Matterport. But my question, though, really is, do you think there's space for it? Like right now, the reason I bring this up, because drones were like the rage, right? Drones, and there's all kinds of privacy issues and stuff like that associated with drones. So it's a little bit different subject. But because it was such new technology, all realtors wanted to be in the drone market. They wanted a drone taken of their house. Everybody wanted to see the roof of the house that they're listing, right? And the backyard from the front yard, and down the street and all this kind of stuff. And now it's kind of died out. There aren't too many now. Again, because of the FAA getting involved and stuff like that with drones, it's kind of subdued that a little bit. But will Matterport be the same way? Do you think it really has some legs?
I personally think it's got huge legs. Partly, and it's not necessarily the technology of Matterport itself, but it's the psychology of the sale now, which is when you're showing houses. I don't know the stats in the US, but generally we say that people have to see a minimum of 15 properties before they will purchase what they want to buy. Rentals,
it's about 8 in the States.
About 8. Okay, so that's still arguably, depending on where you're positioned in the world, in the cities, or whether it's in the rural areas, it's a lot of traveling, it's a lot of transportation. And for me, it's a very time inefficient process to select the right house. For me, where Matterport and its other sort of potential companies really are very strong is the fact that you can whittle out all the rubbish ones that people just don't want to see by putting them in the environment. And you can actually only take them to see what they really want to see. So you're giving a really efficient process and a service to people. And equally, the thing with property viewings, generally, unless you're on an open house sort of product, it's a one-to-one approach. With the Matterport type systems, it's a one-to-many system. So everybody can see that property and rule it out or rule it in. So you've got a far more efficient process. So for me, it's a win-win. And
well, let me throw this at you, James, in that thought. If I'm a listing agent and I have a Matterport out there, and anybody can see it, it's on the web, they go to the website, whatever, maybe it's not on a website, eventually it'll be off a website where you can just see it anywhere. Are you taking the art of the sale out of the transaction? Because if I see it go into a house, like sometimes less is more, in the sense that if I see a house from the outside that looks great, hey, I want to go visit, drive by it, whatever, and the listing agent, or I call the listing agent, I want to schedule a showing, whatever. Is Matterport taking that whole process out, where you start to lose the art of the sale, where the pictures and the Matterport are the sale, and the face-to-face concept is removed?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I just think that the skill of the real estate agent, and it certainly was when I was doing it as a full-time role, was actually in getting the camaraderie with somebody and understanding what they're looking for. And I've always said that real estate is about a jigsaw puzzle and fitting the right pieces together. You've got to find the right buyer with the right property. But actually, and I think, Justin, you said it earlier on, when you're opening the door, really a good real estate agent will take a step back, because you can't sell a house to somebody that doesn't want that house. Right. They're going to know if they want it. You can't walk in and say, this is the most beautiful, wonderful one-bedroom hovel in the middle of a city centre, and you're going to pay $1 million. You're not going to sell it to them. They've got to want to buy it. So for me, it's the fitting the sort of the puzzle pieces together. Matterport will do that, and it will take out, where Matterport and others will take out all the stuff that are going to waste your time and ultimately waste the time of the buyer, and make you look like absolutely the best real estate person out there, because you're thinking about them in the end of the day. And there was an interesting stat, and I'm trying to find it while I'm on here, about the percentage of people that are now buying without seeing properties. And it was a US study, and I quoted it recently, and it was something like 30% of millennials are not seeing any properties before putting offers in. And it was something crazy about...
That's a big number.
Oh, that's the lowest number. I'll try and find it. I'll try and find it while I'm here.
Well, you're hitting that on the head, because within 5 years, you're going to see realtors. The handshake is going to change. That time that handshake happens with a consumer is going to change, because consumers are going to do 60% of what they want to do without us being involved. And then when they need to have that trust involved, they need to have that confidence built up. Then they're going to say, okay, hey, Realtor Bob, let's talk. I want to put an offer on this home. I think it's worth X price. Do you agree? Don't you agree? What are my next steps, right? It's not showing homes. It's not doing that stuff. So I completely believe that stat, because you're going to see that. Consumers don't want to be bothered. They don't want to be sold to. There's so much technology. There's so much stuff on the internet that tells us what's going on today, that when I am looking at a home, I know what I want, and all I want to know is, am I making the right decision? And am I safe and secure and legal with what I'm doing? Right? That's what I want to know. And if I had the technology today to do, that's what I'd be doing, right? If I had that, I would not want to have, and that's coming from a realtor, I would not want to have a realtor show me the home. Just let me look in peace and quiet. Go, stay out of my way. I want to look.
Right.
It was Redfin. Yeah. Redfin, those guys. Is that right?
Yeah, Redfin
does a couple things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find it, because I think, and I'm going to quote this now and then I'll correct it. They said that 59% of people buying a home over $500,000 are not seeing a property before making an offer on it. And this was a study of over 2,000 people. And I was like, what?
That's a big number.
It is a huge number.
Yeah.
I'm just going to try and confirm it while I'm here, just so I don't misquote. So excuse me for a second. I can't do two things at once.
Now, with that being said, while you're looking that up, Oculus is one of these companies that does the goggles. We got Google Cardboard and things like that. Where do you see? And I don't want to get into the actual hardware themselves, but because the hardware, the Galaxy one is fairly cheap. I think it's like $100. It's not really cheap, but do you see that becoming a household kind of item with the 360? Virtual tours of anything. I mean, I can go visit the Taj Mahal today with the 360, right?
What they say, virtual reality goggles, Google has over 3 million of them out in the world right now.
Yeah, is that Oculus? Is that the Oculus, or is that the Galaxy?
Yeah, no, that's the Gear VR one.
Yeah, that's the.
I've got several million of them in here, but no, I think it's it'll be a big move. But let me just I'm just going to give you these numbers, because it will put this into position. So the Redfin survey was over 2,000 people, right? And it said 1 in 5 buyers made an offer on a home without seeing it in person. So 17%, they say, didn't need an agent's help. They said 21% of buyers made an offer on a home without seeing it in person. Certain demographics were more likely to make an offer. So they said 53% of people who bought homes for more than $750,000 offered without seeing it. 30% of millennials made an offer without seeing them, and 30% of single, never married people. So,
yeah, those. If that doesn't tell you the direction, I don't know what does. Right.
Well, you should have led with that, James. Now we'd be done with our topic. We wouldn't have gone any further.
Yeah. Good night, everyone.
It's over. It's finished. But no,
that's a huge stat. Those are huge, and that's exactly what I'm trying to tell a lot of realtors. And because we got so many realtors again that want to worry about being, and I say this many times, they want to worry about being the key holder, and that's the wrong part to be. You need to be the trusted advocate. You need to be the trusted resource for consuming. Because my experience with a lot of millennials right now is they don't really want me to show. They know it's kind of what has to be done, but they don't really want me to show homes. What they want to know is, did I make the right decision?
Right.
That's all they want to know.
Reassurance. So now,
and then hopefully give them suggestions on, attorneys, mortgagers, things like that when they're trying to go those steps.
Will still pictures, will they become a thing of the past in real estate? Is video?
Pictures won't be, not for a long time. They eventually will go away, but they won't for a long time. They'll stick around.
It's going to be a phased release in my thing. I think you've got to have 2D pictures. I mean, there was a study done over here that said that 2D pictures, flat pictures, were the quick sort of hook that got people interested. You think, okay, let's put this into perspective. I'm on Zillow, I'm on Rightmove, whatever it might be, and I'm flicking through my listings. So I'm talking about the market right this second now, and probably for the next 5 or 10 years. We're still going to flick through properties. We're still going to want to see them. The picture requires very, very little attention, very little intention to look at anything other. So you can click on the picture and have a quick look. If you like it, you might then go the next step up the marketing ladder, which is, okay, hang on, where's my phone? Right, okay, I'm going to take my Oculus thingy, I'm going to take it off, I'm going to stick it in the back, and then I'm going to be in the home, and I want to see, and I want to experience what that home's like. Right. It's a little bit more effort. So I think those initial photos are the hook. The immersive experience is the reinforcement of, do I want to go and see this property? And the third step up the ladder is, okay, I loved every set of that. I'm now going to call my realtor and book an appointment and see it. You've almost got stages of buying. And I think for the next, while this millennial generation is phasing out the Generation X's that we probably are heading towards, we're going to have that for some time, I think. It's good.
Yeah. I think I don't see them going away. I see bad photos going away. I hope they go away anyway.
They ain't going away.
Bad photos. I can't stand them.
Yeah, but they're too good for blog articles, though, right? We have bloggers over here who literally spend their lives trawling property portals for the worst photos.
Yeah, it created jobs. Bad photos created jobs. Who would have thought? So now they did, and they mentioned some like apps and stuff in this article that I kind of wanted to see if you guys have even heard of. I've never heard of them, but there's like other companies. I mean, this is all kind of an industry that, with virtual reality and stuff like that, that is really kind of creating a whole other industry as far as media. We Video is a video that where you can make movies and things like that. Snap or Smart Zip or something like that, I think is one too. Back at You Media. There's all kinds of different companies out there that help with realtors and showcasing properties and things like that. Do you see with that happening? Because do you see realtors getting to a point where they can do it all themselves, where it's just, on their phone kind of thing? I mean, the phone is like a mini computer now. Do you see that kind of happening, or are we still going to always need these outside resources?
Good question. What do you think, Justin?
Say the question again.
With all these,
I was answering a couple of people on the side. Sorry.
Pay attention there, Foghorn. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I tell you what, let me pick up on that, and that will give Justin a sort of a link in quite well, because links it in. I think an agent can do it themselves. I think an agent has got the tools on their mobile phone to be able to produce things like immersive experiences very, very quickly. Anybody who's watching, if they look at the Google Camera app, you can produce photospheres which will automatically sync with Google Maps, and then will automatically be able to upload into virtual reality now using Google Cardboard or the Gear VR. It's a very good immersive experience for clients who want to see this stuff, who don't know it. I mean, in 5 years' time, they'll probably look back at this and go, "Oh my God, did you see that photo that we produced for this property? Look how bad that was."
I know, right?
It'll be like that. But now it's the most amazing thing in the world, and people are just like, "That is fantastic." And just to pick up on Matt D Sells NC, his question is absolutely bang on, and just stating that about VR and the mobile devices. So this is an untethered device, and I think he's absolutely right, which is this and Google Cardboard-esque VR devices are going to be what fuel the growth of VR in the real estate sector, whereas things like Oculus, which are tethered devices, i.e. you have to be at your computer, are slightly higher end, probably better for the house building sector where you've got to have built environments.
Right.
In our market, in the basic selling of a resale property, we can do it ourselves, and we can use untethered VR devices which are cheap. Good.
You broke up there a little bit, but you're right. They are cheap. They're portable. I think I am in agreement with you that I think realtors can do it on their own. Now, they may not be able to right now currently do them as well as hiring somebody. And the other thing too is time, right? Time is one of those finite resources, right? We don't have enough of it. And so, but if you do a couple things right, the return on that is huge. So, I think realtors can do it on their own. I just don't think they know or are aware of this technology yet. But I think that we should get very, very familiar with it.
I think that's the wrong question, though.
As far as what?
Not that if they could, should they?
Oh, should they? You don't think
because
they should?
I will tell you, I am the last person that should take any picture of a home. I do it sometimes based on financing and,
that's a good
and
point.
where the home sits from a value perspective. But if you're trying to get, I mean, I go to some homes, okay, give me VR, and all you're doing is taking a virtual reality 360 picture of every piece of trashing in the room because the person that was taking the pictures or doing that couldn't see that was a bad idea.
That's a good point.
Right. Yeah. You'll see them online all the time. And I think there's actually a couple of Facebook pages that show bad photo, real estate, bad photo pictures, and you see just really bad ideas, a guy sitting taking a picture of the bathroom and they see the reflection of them taking the picture of the bathroom. Yeah. Right.
Or they get the arm pointed, around the corner or something. Yeah.
Right. Doing the angle. So to me, yes, the technology is there right now. No doubt that they can do it themselves all day long. But I think right now, since it is so new, I just think it's a bad idea for a lot of realtors to do that unless they have the right eye for it. Now, there are going to be exceptions. Realtors have some talent that way. If they have the visual ability to do it, then by all means do it. And to be honest with you, when I put the next couple homes on the market for me, I'll do it. But only for the fact that I am trying to test it out and prove it out, not that I think I'm the right person for that job.
Do you know, one of the things that they could use is things like, because I tend to agree with you on the camera stuff, because as you've alluded to, some of the photos are so bad, it's unbelievable. But the point with the 360 photos, which then transpose into VR and virtual tools online and they can embed everywhere, is that you just use a 360-degree camera. The Ricoh Theta Type S is a relatively okay example. The Gyroptic, which just won a huge prize at CES. I think it was third prize in the best innovation at CES. That's coming in, I think, around about $400 or $500. It's one photo. Stick it on a tripod in the middle of the room, walk out the room, take the photo. You've got a 360-degree photo in the same time it takes for one photo. And the good thing about the Gyroptic one is that it syncs automatically with Google Maps. The other thing, and it's a little tip I learned, which is with Google Maps, when you're loading up a photosphere, you can fill 10% of the image that you upload with branding. So you can have your own board in a photosphere saying property for sale, and it's going to be on for everybody in the world to see, which I think is pretty neat thing to do.
Yeah, no, there's huge branding opportunities. And I've been thinking about that because when you do those 360 photos and you look up at the sky or the ceiling, that could be your sign, right? In the virtual world. There's a lot of empty spaces within those photos that you can, do some branding in. And so there's a big opportunity there for branding as far as that goes. Okay, so last thing here, because I know with time we're kind of running a little bit late, but I want to get to one last thing here, and how important is technology in the home in the future? So we've had like the Nest and the Apple, thermostat and some smart homes, so, quote unquote, these light bulbs that turn on, the Amazon Echo that syncs with other components in the home. How important, even like we've done studies here with Google, what is it? Google Fiber or something like that, where internet speed is much higher. How important is technology in the home in real estate? Is it important? Silence.
It's always important, right? No, it's always important, right? When homes first came out, well, not when homes, right? When new construction came out in the late 90s, right? Everyone had to have routing cables put in so you could have, wired network all the way through the house. Now that's not as necessary. And now you can have other things. That stuff's always going to play. And I think it's going to become more of a player more down the road. Because, do you want to have a garage? If you're buying two homes next to each other and you're trying to debate on which one, The one that automatically opens the garage versus the one that you still got to hit a button. Which one are you going to pick? Right.
Right.
It's going to play. And I don't think it's going to play this year, but in the next 3 or 4 years, that is going to play because there's an app now that you can put on your phone for the new Tesla that will actually back itself out of the garage and warm up for you so you're ready to go when it's ready, when you're ready to get out to the car.
Crazy,
That's
right?
what we're looking for. That's the stuff
exactly.
that consumers want.
Yeah. Well, even disconnected homes, right? So when we talk about technology, they want the, off the grid homes will make a surge, I think, in the future, especially with Tesla and their battery that operates the house without having to have solar and stuff like that. I saw in France, and James, you may be more knowledgeable about this or not, but I saw in France, they're actually laying solar panels in the road.
Yeah, that's a lot of. I mean, the smart city and the smart home side is a fascinating area, and it's only going to grow massively. The solar panels in the road stuff. I mean, there is so much exciting technology out there. There's a lot of technology being used in pavements at the moment to get kinetic energy as people are walking over them. So when people are walking over them, there's a small vibration which converts into kinetic energy, which then fuels energy. So it's a renewable source of energy. All that stuff is out there, but the home tech stuff, a couple of things which I found really interesting, and I wrote an article about 3 weeks ago, which I've just
thanks for sharing that, by the way.
Plug, you got to do it from time to time, don't you? But it's the thing that the couple of things which I'm just going to mention a couple of the stats which I found fascinating is I did a big study of some house builders and estate agents, and 75% of the house builders here at the moment in the UK have already experimented with smart technology in their developments. 80% of the estate agents that I surveyed said that smart technology in the home helped them sell the home they were trying to sell. That's a massive stat. And then there was a report by Barclays, who are a big bank, obviously over here, I'm pretty sure they're over with you, said that consumers would spend $5,000 more on a home with smart, ready technology than without. So there's a huge draw there. And the last thing which I found fascinating was on the retirement sector. There is a huge, huge push for the smart home in the retirement sector because of the concerns of the children of elderly relatives and parents being in, certainly in sort of the new home sector where they're in a home or they're in an apartment on their own. And little things that can trigger off of their children's phone, like if the kettle's gone on in the morning, it can fire off a notification. It's okay, mum and dad are okay. They're awake, they've switched the phone on. Or, certain patterns which will alert if a light switch hasn't been turned off or something like that. And I think there's an amazing potential which has been a little bit missed, thinking that the older generations find smart technology confusing. And it's not about them. It's about the younger generations coming through, which want them to be using it. Fascinating area, that one.
Yeah, well, that's super fascinating.
There are technologies out there being applied. CES was a big proponent of this year. It was big in that area where it was predictive analytics, right? So if your elderly aunt, mother, whatever, was wearing a device on them all the time, it's tracking everything, the house is tracking things. And if they were doing things and iterations that were dramatically off consistently, then the people got, notified. It took them, a minute longer every time to get to the kitchen from when they woke up in the morning or did whatever. They would notify so their kids would know, okay, maybe things aren't quite as right. So they're actually building a lot of predictive tools in there too to help you learn what's going on and do that stuff. And that's huge. I mean, now the other problem with that stuff is, okay, when does it stop becoming cool and start becoming big brother concerns?
Well, do you know what? That's
privacy. Right?
Yeah, they said privacy was a massive thing. They said that the data sharing, what the biggest concerns from, funnily enough, both the millennials and the elderly citizens was data sharing. The guys in the middle, I like to think we're in there. We weren't so concerned, but the guys on either end were really worried about, well, hang on a minute, does this mean that there's a big brother thing and we're being watched and these big corporations are going to take our data? So they're just going to be very open and transparent about it. But I can only see positives with this stuff.
No, I think it's very cool, and I'm very excited about that stuff. But I don't worry about the big brother stuff. I'm not a cynic in those regards. Although there are people that worry about it, right? If they start noticing things, does your insurance rates go up because now you're getting a little unhealthy, right?
Yeah, I mean,
There's huge out here.
I've talked to people here, and they want good internet access. They want good cell phone service. All these sort of things. I've had people not purchase a home because they have dead spots within the home for cell phone. Yeah, right. So these things, these smart homes or even well-connected homes they're super important. Even the green energy, they're starting here in Arizona. We don't have the heater issues probably that you have, Justin, but we have insulation where they spray it on the roof and they do double insulation and all kinds of other things. And people actually purchase those homes or prefer those homes over, a traditional type insulated home. So it's super important to have technology in a home that is well connected, and having a smart home, making your life a little bit easier. I think it's only going to become more of a critical component with home buyers in purchasing homes in the future. That's my personal opinion.
I agree. More devices, right? Your TV is connected. Your phones are connected. Your tablets are connected. Your computers are connected. Your fridge will be soon connected. Your microwave will soon be connected. Your heater, everything will be connected. So, no, I completely agree. It's going to come play.
Do you not think you've got to be a little bit careful with that, though? Because one of the big concerns, I think, with the smart home is that it's going to get very complicated very quickly. In the sense of, if you've got all these different devices which are all connected, one of the big worries is that they're all connected to their own single app. Now, there's almost two levels of smart home. There's the real top end stuff where you've got things like, is it Connect 4 is one of the very big top end smart home providers, and everything is wired in. So it's like a wireless wired network, but it's all centrally integrated into central ports, and everything can be connected in. But then you've got on the lower level, so things like the Philips Hue lighting, and then you've got the smart fridges who all host their individual apps. If you suddenly got on your phone, you've got to go, Christ, hang on a minute, where's my app to turn on my toilet, my toilet light? That's not going to work. So one of the things, and one of the companies which Samsung have produced their smart hub, they bought out a company recently called Smart Things.
And the Internet of Things.
Yeah. And what it is, they've got a smart hub, which is pretty cheap. And it's effectively open source. So it can connect up with everything like the Philips Hue light bulbs to anything outside. And the third-party platform is like 200 strong already in terms of providers that can connect up with it. And then all of a sudden you're working it off of just, the one tablet device. So it's that might be the way forward, I think.
Well, and the other problem becomes, okay, what happens when that hub goes down?
Yeah.
That's the other problem, right? We laugh. We see all these TV shows now about the end of the world. You add everything up at one point in time, and something goes down, everyone's lost. They don't know how to react anymore.
Well, in regards to that, there's a lot of like political news, or has not so much now because we're in an election year, but there's cyber attacks, right? There was a big article that came out about cyber attacks. By having a smart home, do you make yourself more susceptible to some type of terrorist activity, or I don't want to say they want to focus on one person per se, but cyber hacking, these sort of things. Is a smart home really good? Because some people will argue, hey, a smart home, I don't want it because I don't want them, big brother in me or something.
I just think you can't annoy your neighbors.
Right.
You're probably more likely to get in trouble with your neighbors who go, he's got a smart home. I'll just unplug it. I'll just cut his lines. Then he won't be annoying me. He can't play his music.
I'll have a dumb home over. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's a concern. I think it's a concern. You work with technology these days, right? If you're in a real estate company and people use those big print hub scanner machines, what most realtors don't realize is when you scan something in there, it literally takes a photocopy of that scan and then prints it out. So those hard drives exist with all those scanned documents, right? Same thing's going to happen with your home if you have a smart hub. It has RAM. It has memory in the back end. If you don't take that smart hub with you, what can someone do when they pull up that smart hub the next time they buy that home for you? What can they find about you, the last owner? Right? These are things that have to start being thought about and putting in contracts of what's going on and what becomes right to take with you, what doesn't become right to take with you.
Of course, I've got the Ring doorbell on my house, and I can see somebody at my front door or whatever. Technology is not that, because my internet speed, it's good, but it's not instantaneous. It's not like a blab here conversation for the doorbell. It's a little delayed. But I've thought, hey, if I sell this house, do I take the doorbell with me, or do I leave it as part of the sale of the house? Sometimes technology can make decisions that are force you to make decisions that you maybe otherwise wouldn't. And if I was purchasing a house that had a Ring doorbell, can somebody else that still has the app, the person that had it before me, can they still see this Ring doorbell? I haven't been there yet. I'm sure there's probably a reset button or something like that on there, but I don't know. It does lend itself to the possibility of being hacked.
These will be questions that agents will have to have conversations with their clients about. And again, this is where this is where we as agents come in and provide our value. Not again showing the door, but explaining to them, here's the things you got to think about now that when you're walking out the door.
Well, and will that change the real estate contract? Right? Will there be verbiage in the contract in the future saying, hey, all smart appliances are to be disconnected or reset, or I don't know, whatever the verbiage may be, but there may be addendums to the contract for that in the future.
God, that's going to open up a whole can of worms.
Right, and what are the legalities with that and all that. So it's going to be interesting to see how technology is changing things.
Yeah, no, I think it's fascinating. I love this time because, again, I thought this was a great topic you suggested, Jayson, because I think what we don't really understand is all this stuff that's out here and all the technology that's being put in place is maybe we're not seeing it right now, but some of this stuff is happening today that is going to affect us very, very quickly.
Yeah,
and we're not ready for it. I mean, to be honest with you, I talk to my board all the time, and they don't. These aren't conversations they're having yet.
Yeah, and they need to be, right? I mean, even as agents, we need to be having these conversations because this is coming up fast. I mean, think about 5 years ago. I mean, 5 years ago, we didn't have some of these smart things that we have now. I mean, it's crazy how fast this is changing our world.
I'm just trying to think. I'm just trying to find what the starter kit is. I mean, because James is right. These things are getting cheaper by the minute, which means they're going to become more plausible in the system. The starter kit for $199, well, about $250, you could buy a Samsung starter kit, which would have the hub and a couple devices for $200.
It's not a lot, is it?
Oh,
well, and I think in CES, I'm pretty sure they launched that the hub was going to be integrated into the Samsung TVs, so it's all part of the TV now.
That would be nice from a transferring from a real estate perspective. I don't think I'd like it from a logistics perspective because you're gonna keep a TV. Typically, you keep a TV longer than you keep a device like that. Typically, those devices upgrade way faster, but just based on protocols and hardware needs, then you're going to be willing to replace a TV. I mean, you think of a router. If you have it for 2 years, it's old right now.
Yeah, exactly. It is old. That's a frustrating thing about technology. As soon as you buy it, it's outdated. It's crazy. Philips, John was saying too, Philips Hue starter kit is $199 as well. So relatively inexpensive. And
then, and he said at the end too, and there's going to be an Apple one if they haven't already had it out. Looks like he says it is out. I knew they were thinking about it. Google's going to have their own. They got the Google Hub. These all are going to be out there in play. And again, it goes back to what Mark was hinting at earlier. You're going to have some sort of standards and protocols in place. But it becomes a conversation because now when I open my door or I come into the garage, here's what's open. But I'm taking that stuff with me when I leave the house.
Well, what's so attractive too about some of this technology is you can put codes like with the doorbell ring and stuff. When the kids come in, when they come in, you're talking, James, about predictability for seniors. Justin, you mentioned that. It also, this technology is very helpful for the kids when they come home from school and stuff like that. So there's going to be, I think this is just going to continue to grow, and there's a lot of creativity going on in this arena.
No, this is good. I didn't even think about talking about this today. It's a great point because this is huge. This is probably one of the bigger ones to be aware of right now.
All right, cool. So do you want to wrap it up?
I'm good. I got a thing going on in 20 minutes, so I get to go have lunch and come back to listen to a webinar instead of be a part of one. So.
All right, cool, man. Hey, James, thank you very much, man, for lending your expertise and sharing some of your articles and stuff on there. Really good stuff.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks, James, man.
No worries.
Join us anytime, man. Fridays. I know it's nighttime there in the UK, and you probably forego your, pint of beer or something like that. But
I'm about to leave and go and drown 2 kids, so it's bath time.
Oh, there you go. Good for you. All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining us, James. Anytime, buddy. You're welcome anytime.
Okay, cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Have a good one, man.
See you later.
All right, Justin. Jayson Bates, you can visit my website at www.valleyofthesunrealestateshow.com. Connect with me on any social media from there. Connect with me on Blab. I'd love to chat with you on Blab. I love the Blab platform and the interaction that Blab offers for live streaming. So connect with me on Blab.
For me, it's Eat Professor Real Estate and Blab. I do this weekly with Jayson on Fridays at 11 a.m. Central Time. The other place to find me is eatprofessorrealestate.com. I did put that on the little question areas down there on the side. Hope you guys are having a good day, and we will talk next week. Although I will be honest with you, Jayson, we may cancel that one because I have a very, very hard out. I actually get to go to an indoor water park next weekend, so I am leaving when it's time to go.
Hey, are you hitting the slopes, or that's in Boston? Isn't Boston?
No. This is called the Kalahari in Wisconsin, so it's going to be a good time, and it's just an indoor water park, big old place in the Dells. It's going to be a lot of fun. So we'll probably do it, but I will be very hard about being right done.
Yeah, out. It's an hour-long deal. Right, and we always go over. We got to stop that. We got to stop doing that.
Well, it's fine. Right. I don't mind staying longer, just like we did last time. Just stop the recording when it's done, and then all the other stuff is just post prep stuff.
Yeah, I had some technical difficulties this morning, but we'll fix that. All right, yes, cool.
Awesome, sir. Thank you, Jayson. We'll have a good time, and I'll probably try to talk to you this week because I am literally recording podcasts as we speak, and I need to start getting that stuff ready to roll.
Good for you, man. Congratulations on that. If you need my help, let me know.
I will do that, man. Later.
All right. Take care, everyone.